So let's just go to Fitch and say, why did you kill him? Or no, how? We know why. You did it. And I'll go, you got me. Slap the cuffs on.
There's no use in pretending.
We're too smart for you.
Do some good cop, bad cop on him.
No, we just have to do bad cop and he surrenders.
Just
That's
bad
exactly how it will
In a lot
happen.
of the Holmes stories,
If
though,
you surrender, we'll give you candy.
in a lot of the Holmes stories,
Okay.
when they do the parlor scene, he actually doesn't have a motive, but after he reviews them, he goes, but there was only one question. Why did you do such a nefarious
Yeah,
act?
it's
And
true.
the person confesses in the parlor scene and says,
Oh, yeah.
what you didn't know was that he was my lover all along.
Ah, it was those meddling kids.
Because he always gets to the conclusions by eliminating all the other possibilities.
Right, exactly. And he says the
dog.
obvious answer is that you were the killer.
Yeah.
And he says, the only thing I do not know is what motivated you to do such a thing.
Yeah.
And then the guy confesses because he knows that he's been
Find out.
beaten by a superior intellect.
Right, but during the parlor scene, we have to describe each person in depth, as to their potential motives, and lead the audience towards them, and then say, "But the so and so over here was doing this and this and this,
Yeah.
and
we
stomping
can't
around in the garden
actually roll
and blah blah blah."
See, I am willing to simply accuse Senate and then have all the dominoes fall when he gives it all in.
We can look at the question answers.
I
Questions if
think
you guys
that
want.
we should go
Yeah.
talk to Finch.
Okay.
Yeah, let's talk to
what's
Fitch,
Fitch's
and then
location?
we can turn it in.
I admit to having a strong dislike for Armstead, says Lord Fitch. He was a cad and a bounder who made my sister's life miserable. I argue at length with my father against the marriage, but to no avail. Unfortunately, Mary was not the attractive sort.
Well, at least we're all in agreement about that.
All right.
18th
face.
century
Definitely
London.
have-
Bad suitors by the score. Far from it. She was in real danger, as my father put it, of advancing rapidly into spinsterhood, unless he
Terrifying.
did something about it. And so their engagement was arranged just before Armstead was sent on a military mission to France. During that year, I continued to argue against the marriage. I had made several friends on my tour of the continent, and I asked them to forward any information they might have on Armstead's unsavory activities. They regularly sent back word of his ridiculous living, his drinking and womanizing and such. Finally, there was some scandal or mile involving a young French girl of a good family. But even with the documentation, my father would not dissolve the betrothal. I even went so far as to give the story to the newspapers, hoping to create an untenable situation for everyone involved. But my father got wind of it and used his influence to stop the publication. You must understand, I consider that whatever hurt I was doing my sister in the publishing of such a scandal was the lesser of evils in the long run. At the time, I was sure the marriage was a mistake, and so it proved to be. May I ask why you did not keep your appointment with the general this morning? My wife took suddenly ill.
Okay, so Nick was right.
Where'd that come from?
Wait,
I don't know.
what was right?
You were right about Finch not keeping his
Yeah.
May I
appointment.
ask why you did not keep your appointment with the general this morning?
God, gotcha.
Wow.
My wife took
I was
suddenly
the only
ill.
one.
We shouldn't have drunk that champagne.
This is like when you don't do things, you just randomly blame them on your wife. She took suddenly ill. I summoned Dr. Ystari and waited until his arrival around 10 o'clock. Thank you, Lord Fitch, for your time.
A likely
So
story.
we could check with the doctor to corroborate his story, but I don't
Nope.
think he's lying.
Red herring.
Okay, I
Yeah.
had an idea, and I'm absolutely certain this is what happened. So,
Oh my god.
it was the father of the young French girl who he had a fling with finally tracked him down and ran him through
With his cape and
for-
everything.
Then why was the figurine turned around?
Can you go get me that?
Who doesn't
Yeah.
like turning around figurines, man?
Nick, there's one figurine in a regiment of 200 Waterloo soldier figurines.
Hey, he's
no,
the
it
general.
was the general
James,
figurine.
no, I know,
It was
but-
the best figurine to
When
turn
I'm
around.
dying, I want to, as the last thing I ever do, play with my miniatures.
I don't think the general shared your
Spent
love of
so
wargaming.
much time painting them that he has to get that
just like,
investment
"Oh,
back.
It's so pretty.
So
He's like, I should have used a better shading technique.
So first of all, do we believe in the narrative that he was run through the heart? Because the thing is that it sounds like there's the story that's written in the text, and then there's what the writers want us to believe. Because the thing is that if you run through the heart, you die instantly. But it sounds like they clearly want to imply that the general turned the figurine just before he died. If we can accept that he didn't die instantly and he did turn the figurine,
Yeah,
then
so
that's
you have like 11 seconds or whatever before your brain dies. Or
or
no, that's if they cut off your head, you've got 11 seconds.
Yeah.
Your heart stops beating.
I feel like we're reading way too much into it, and I feel like they intended for us to believe he could turn the figure.
Okay.
I feel like that's the thing, because like we approach all the different clues about other things and none of them come up with anything, and of course Sherlock is going to be like, why didn't you notice the figure was turned around, you dummies?
Yeah.
Turncoat. It was Senate the whole time.
or it was Gerard.
Yeah, or Gerard. Because the thing is that because it could be a conspiracy, right, between Senate and Gerard. Because the thing is that notice how Gerard. Did we have the thing with Gerard? What was the thing back in Gerard?
He's the French embassy, or he's the French.
He's the French friend.
Yeah, he's the French
best
friend. But what's his address?
Do you remember?
He's at the embassy.
Yeah. Do you remember which one that was?
Dave has it written down.
I
sometimes.
do. Sometimes. I started caring about taking notes, and then halfway through I was like, I don't care.
Is there any way to look up the embassy's location?
Yes, yeah.
It's on the map
absolutely.
here.
Who can do it first? French Embassy, 59 Southwest.
There you go.
Okay.
Toupe.
I was in the right neighborhood.
Okay, because look at this. So you show up, and this is how he describes it, right? He says, he knows the general. He says, yes, General. He was but a captain at the time, was one of a group of English officers sent to our war college. We, in turn, sent a number of French officers to your war college in Sandhurst. I was assigned to be the general's guide, as it were, during his stay. We were quartered together and were constantly in each other's company for an entire year. In such a situation, people either emerge as worst of enemies or the best of friends. Happily, the latter was true in our case.
Wouldn't it make
Would you describe the general as he was at that time? Yes, the general was quite a dashing fellow. I would say that when on duty, there was no more dedicated officer in the English army. His knowledge of military history was astounding. But off duty, well, that was another matter entirely. And he breaks into a broad grin. Suspicious, right? I mean, either he's very excited that he's good with the ladies, or he's trying too hard.
Yeah,
I'm
he doesn't seem
afraid the
broken
gen-
up about his friend's death at all.
Yeah, I'm afraid the general was quite a devotee of wine, women, and song, although not by any means in that order. I was quite amazed at, shall we say, his stamina. I, a Frenchman, could not keep up with him.
Right.
When I complained that he was putting me and my countrymen to shame in matters of love, he laughed and said that it was because we did not have a horse face to spur us on. You see, just before the general left England, he had become engaged to marry Fitch. Later, Mrs. Armstead.
Okay, so I think that
My whole point here... go on.
Well, I think that
So
it fits
Gerard,
because
his spurned love,
well, no.
with tears in his eyes, came and finally
So it could be that
had enough.
It could also be that the English fought the French at the Battle of Waterloo, right? So your turncoat idea could have another meaning because he's a French guy on the English side.
Yeah.
No,
Right. Well-
because the Napoleonic Wars were early 1800s, like 1815 was the French Revolution, right? And the Napoleonic Wars followed directly after. So
Right.
1848 would have been way after Napoleon.
Well, like 20.
We're talking about the Battle of Waterloo, though, where Napoleon lost.
Yeah, but
Right.
Battle of Waterloo
That
is
was
not this
very-
war.
But the
Yeah.
figures were arranged in
we're
Waterloo-like
from the
fashion.
battle.
Right, because that's just...
Didn't these guys fight in the Battle of Waterloo? Isn't that what it's been implied?
No, because the
No.
whole
No.
point was that
They
that
would have
was
been like
when
little
the,
kids.
That was when the
Okay.
Tontine was
Wait a
done.
second.
And then these are the people... that
Oh,
are your-
these are the ones that were
they
headed down.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Relatives?
Yeah,
Yes.
because the Tontine was for people who like served and died a long time ago. They bought those certificates for other people that have outlived them since then. So these people are the much older generation, who is the next generation of the people who were in the Tontine years back.
Oh, that's a way worse way to do it, because now you don't know any of those people, and you don't have any reason not to go around killing them.
Yes.
That's a super terrible way to do Tontines, to hand them down. Here is the list of people you must kill,
In order to-
son.
Once again,
Claim your
million and a
outlaw.
half
It's like,
You
Anyway.
know none of them, and none of them know you. It's perfect.
So
Here is your pair of swords, and
your swords, your pistols.
that would be a really cool idea for a game, though.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
each PC plays another PC.
Oh my
yeah.
God.
You're basically
Terrible.
saying Call of Cthulhu 3 is going to be a Tontine.
I mean, it
That
could.
It's like
that would be
Stardust.
legit.
Each of our families have been warring for centuries over this single pile of money.
Actually, it's like a Tontine, but there's also Cthulhu stuff going on.
I know,
It's
right?
like
cursed
Fate
pile
Stay
of
Night.
money.
It's the Holy Grail Wars
Yeah.
all over again.
Each one of you gets a weapon to kill someone else, but the weapon is tied to one of the great elder gods.
Like you're all from a different cult.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty.
There's already something like that in this summer's game, so I don't want to overuse it. Oh, too much.
I think we're ready to solve.
Yeah.
So we think it was Gerard, or we think it was.
I still think
I
it was
don't,
Senate.
I don't know this Gerard, but Senate and Gerard are both eligible to be the betrayer because they both have the closest ties to him. And they
Yeah.
both have motive because they're both people that were with him early enough in his career to know secrets about his past where what he's researching and what he's involved in could now come into play.
So why? Do
Because-
you know why Gerard has come to France?
He's just in the French embassy.
Yeah, he's now reached a level of authority where he's now assigned here. So he just came to visit, and he happens to be in the town with this guy. At least that's the narrative. But I didn't get to finish reading that section. But the whole point was that when he comes back drunk that night, he talks about how there were promises he cannot keep, and there are promises he must keep.
No, that
And-
was a long time ago.
No, but he said that to Gerard.
Well, that's clearly
So-
about
No,
like I must keep
that
this
was
promise
but
to
that
get
was
married.
that was 40 years. Yeah, that was
right.
about being married.
And I
No, we don't know that.
He
He comes
I
back
mean, yeah,
after a
he
night
did
of
say it
drunken
was
stupor.
it was cryptic.
Right. So the whole point is that both
But he
Gerard,
also mentioned the flower, and he sighed deeply. So
See, and that's
I
another
think
thing.
it
Is like
has
they
to
could
do
also
with
be lovers, or maybe
his-
he has a child elsewhere that is able to be heir. Because there's a whole
I
bunch
think
of.
I think he found he got engaged and then went to France and then found someone he actually loved and was really broken up about that.
and that could be the straightforward answer. It
Yeah.
could also be something entirely like out of that whole.
It could, but there's nothing to like really imply that direction.
I feel like the only two people that could be a true betrayer in the entirety of our suspects are Senate and Gerard. And they both have enough connection with his whole life to know enough to suggest that there is something in their background, which is why I was hoping that the birth and marriage records would say something,
Right.
because they all have enough life with him to say, you might know something or be aware of something in our life experience together that could harm us if whatever happens, right? It could have nothing to do with Jem. It may just be that he has another heir that will inherit before this Fitch guy gets his inheritance. And
from
one
this
of-
other lady?
Yeah, so there's all kinds of other things that suggest the possibility that there's something in his past that these two people who have known him his entire life might have motive for.
No one's
What-
getting his
So-
estate is going to this rich.
I feel like it makes less sense for the valet though.
Okay, so
so
His
is-
whole estate is going to the study of
Just
Military
um,
history.
Yeah,
military
military
history.
history.
It's
Okay.
not going to anyone.
So
yeah, that's his will.
if Gerard didn't, then we assume that the valet Senate is innocent. In which case, he has no reason to be lying.
Which means that
So
his
that means
statements are
that the
correct.
old man would.
The old man
Wouldn't-
was a stranger. The valet would have known Gerard.
Yeah. Because he talked about Gerard and
No, he said that they had been corresponding for a long time, but only recently had they actually gotten together and met. And
Short
the valet
French
didn't.
man.
So
Does it
here's the
say
other
that
thing.
Yeah, I
it's
think-
If we
short?
believe Senna's story to be true, he did say that the letter addressed to Armstead that apparently made him go pale when he read it was addressed to Captain Armstead, 12th Hussars, the general's old regiment.
And it was
Yep.
yellowed with age.
Yeah, and when he read it, he went very pale. Then in a subdued voice, he asked to admit the gentleman. So an old war buddy
But-
coming back from the grave.
But it was a very old letter addressed to him.
So could it have been from that young French man?
Yes, that makes
Yes.
sense.
Yeah, that's
Someone
what I
who
think.
knew him
Yeah.
when he was still a captain. The thing
Like
is that
maybe
Yeah.
maybe he
so that
like
okay,
maybe
that
he
ties
knocked a
together
girl
for
up
me.
or something
Definitely.
like that.
Okay, so it's Gerard.
Yeah.
It's
All
got
right.
to
It
exist.
It has to be
Except
Gerard.
Yeah.
doesn't the valet recognize Gerard? He knows.
No,
what
no, we
Gerard
just-
looks
we
like.
just
No,
discussed
yes.
Yeah. So he went to France and hung out with Gerard like as part of that exchange program
Right.
40 years ago.
The
Then he
Gerard
comes
comes
back.
back.
They correspond via mail for the next 40 years, and then Gerard very recently comes to England for the French embassy,
And they met up.
and they independently go and meet up.
Oh, so
to-
they've never been to
yeah.
his place.
Yeah.
So Senate might not know what Gerard
It's
looks like.
entirely possible that he has no.
Does
idea what Gerard
is there anything we've seen or read that suggests that Gerard matches the description of the person?
He does
So-
have silver hair.
The description he gave was he was a short man, he wore a black cape and carried a carpet bag. Oh, and he walked
This is
with a
of
cane.
the caller.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was the description of Gerard?
What address is he at?
He's at
He's the
the.
French
embassy?
embassy. Yeah.
59?
Did we get a description?
Yeah.
I don't think
59,
we got
yeah.
much of one.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was like silver hair.
A man
A
with
sprightly silver-haired gentleman meets us in the embassy waiting room and introduces
Sprightly.
himself.
So Sprightly doesn't match up
all we got.
with walking with a cane.
Yeah. Yeah, sprightly usually suggests like kind of animated
Kane may
and
have been
Does-
Secret Sword, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we know that only one rapier was missing.
Did people just walk around with canes for fashion that back then?
yes.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
So okay, so what I'm imagining is Gerard comes in, reveals something about this lover from 40 years ago.
So promises I have to keep and promises I couldn't keep. So that could be about like a kid. Or
No, that's my whole thing.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
But then why would Gerard kill him?
No, so there's a challenge to a duel. They lock the door. He challenges Gerard to a duel. Gerard kills him, and then makes his escape.
What if?
Why would they duel?
What if?
Because
What if?
Armstead is so pissed off. Like it's like an honor thing, right?
What if Gerard like
You knocked up his
only
lady
just found
and
out
you
that
knew
he had
and
gotten
you
together, or that like the French girl he was with was like
That's an
Gerard's
honor.
daughter,
Sister.
or sister, and he
Gerard
was like
says,
offended.
last week when I arrived in London, we had separate
Yeah, last
rules, and then went to see French actor Philippe Arnaud perform.
Right.
The journal commented that my presence next to him while French was being spoken from the stage reminded him of the old days.
Mm-hmm.
It was in fact the first time in almost 40 years that we'd actually been in each other's presence.
Right.
Your visit went well? Oh, exceedingly. The general was in excellent spirits. Was there anything in particular in his mind? Did he seem worried? No, not at all. Okay, so what if we go to the supper, supper rules, or we go to the theater thing and see if anybody saw a man with a carpet bag and a cape and a cane?
Get a secondary description.
Yeah, secondary description.
I feel like that's
I'm not sure if they
unlikely
give
to.
us-
I don't think.
that's
Yeah,
gonna
I
give us
don't. I
more
don't think it's gonna.
Then
give
you
us
guys just
that
want to
much
solve?
detail.
Let's
I think we
solve.
might just want to.
I
Let's
think
do
I
it.
still
right.
believe
With
that there's-
Gerard and that Cabot killed
I
Philip.
still believe there's no way
Hold on.
Senate
That's
is
a bonus.
not guilty in some way.
I feel like there's a connection here because it says Princess Theater, and that matches what it is. Let's just check out the Princess Theater.
All right.
Philippe Arnaud perform?
Yeah.
Okay.
Company Arnaud.
What's the address?
11 Northwest. Because I feel like this is the one time we get a connection with
That's a
the
long one.
newspaper.
Oh, maybe it's worth it.
It's just a bunch of descriptions
Okay, hold
about
on.
the theater.
Gotta
It just
take
doesn't
notes.
tell us anything.
Yeah.
No, it describes the entire
Yeah,
play.
it's gonna be like.
I know.
You're gonna love this play.
It's like,
Let me tell you all
It's like,
about
oh,
it.
the play was about the attack on Waterloo and how one of the guys turned around and yelled something or whatever.
Turned around and yelled, "It was Gerard!"
And it was probably shot in the back.
Yeah.
We noticed a man in the audience sweating a lot from that line.
He reached out into his carpet bag and took out a
Cane sword.
His cane to dab his sweat.
All right.
All right, we
Take
need
us
to
away.
give Amber a moment to
Okay.
compose ourselves.
All right.